Hello, hello. We are on day 2. We are doing a live 6-day series on early intervention, where we are peeling back the layers on pretty much all things early intervention. So this is very helpful for parents who are actually going through it, who are thinking about calling and making the referral. So any questions you have regarding early intervention, this 6-part series is definitely going to help. Yesterday, we went over the question, should I actually call early intervention? And then I broke down some things that you guys could look at per age for your child to see if it warrants maybe a call or at least documentation, or maybe doing some videos so you can show a pediatrician or a therapist. So if you haven't watched that video, you can go back and do that. All this entire 6-part series is going to be linked in the description below, so you can watch it. So you can binge watch it there, starting at lesson 1. So let's go ahead and get started. I hope you guys are having a good day. I still can't believe I'm on here live. I'm used to sitting in your home and, like I said, at your sofa or at your kitchen table, you offering me a drink of water. But here we are live together, and I'm very, very excited about this. So if you have any questions or comments, just put them in the chat if you're live. If you're watching the pre-recording, just put it in the comment section below, and I will definitely check those. Okay, so like I said, 6-part series. Today we are talking about how referrals work in early intervention. So I'm going to break this down because I think this is where parents get bottlenecked, is sitting and wondering if they should call early intervention, which is what we talked about yesterday. And then what really happens once I make that phone call? So again, I'm not going to read through this. This was part of, I went more in depth with this in the first video, but I've been in early intervention for over 10 years as both a service coordinator and a pediatric developmental therapist. The good thing about a developmental therapist and why Milestone Mom and myself is so unique is because I get to look at 5 different areas of development. A lot of times when you have a speech therapist, obviously they're just looking at receptive expressive language. Sometimes speech therapists or feeding therapists, physical therapists look at gross motor. Well, I'm able to look at 5 different areas of development, and that's what's on my standardized test. So when I come in and test your child, I look at those 5 different areas. It takes me about 45 minutes to complete the assessment because there are so many moving pieces. So we like to say that we look at your child globally, is what a developmental therapist does. And then here's the list of topics that we're going to be covering per day. We are on day 2, so we're going to be talking about those referrals. Tomorrow, we're going to talk all about what happens at the intake meeting. Okay. So where did most of our referrals come from? Well, I want you to remember that early intervention is birth to 36 months, and little ones actually age out the day before their 3rd birthday. So if your child is, 3.5, 4, they're not going to be able to be in this program because it is only birth to 36 months. But a lot of our referrals come from the pediatrician. I would say that's probably where most of ours come from. Typically because a parent, maybe voices a concern, or a pediatrician notices something, or it's based on a low ASQ score. So the ASQ is the Ages and Stages questionnaire that you have probably filled out many times at the pediatrician's office, and it has confused the heck out of you. I'm going to talk a little bit later in this live, to see if you guys want me to do a training on this and to show you how filling that out wrong can actually warrant a referral. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. So that wonderful ASQ, if that's low, the pediatrician will call. We also get referrals from NICU. So maybe there's a baby that was, we call them drug babies. They were born with some sort of drug in their system. Maybe they have spent a lot of time in the NICU. They're coming home on different things, feeding tubes, oxygen. They were born premature. So NICU, and then also DCFS. If it is a drug baby, we'll usually either get it from NICU or DCFS, just depending on how much time the baby needed to stay in NICU. So we could either get the referral from both places. Also with DCFS, if a child just enters DCFS as a foster child and there are concerns, whether they're 15 months or 24 months, we will get a referral and we'll go out and see those kiddos. And then also the health department, especially if your child's part of WIC and you go in there, I know they have the questionnaires for you to fill out. If there's something concerning on that, the health department will reach out to us. Daycares also, a lot of times if it is a daycare, sometimes the daycare provider will reach out. Typically they have the conversation with the parent first. Sometimes they don't. That's why I'll show you in a little bit the referral form. It actually says on there, were you aware of the, or is parent aware of the referral? And so like I said, the daycare provider, a lot of times if they do bring it up to the parent will usually call. And then we also actually do ASQ screening. So when we go into schools for the birth to 3, they also have the 3 to 5 for the preschool screenings at your school district. We will actually go into those school districts too and do the birth to 3 and also the daycares. And we use the ASQ. So I would really love to train you guys on the ASQ and how to fill that out properly at the pediatrician's office. And then we also have self-referral, which is where the parents call directly. There's a lot of confusion around this. And I guess if there's anything that Milestone Mom does, it's to let you know that you as a parent can refer. You do not have to wait for a pediatrician's referral. And being in EI for over 10 years, there's a lot of misconception around that, but you can call. And here's actually the link. You can go here and find the early intervention program in your state. I will also have it linked below. I didn't know if you wanted to take a screenshot or something of that, but it is in the description. So parents, you can refer to early intervention as long as your little one is birthed to 36 months. 36 months is kind of pushing it, considering that they do age out the day before their 3rd birthday. However, I will tell you, if they are close to the 36 months and you do have concerns, still call and get that evaluation set up, because later on in this series, we're going to talk about transition meeting. So if your little one does qualify for early intervention, we help transition them into the early childhood program in your home-based school district. So even if they're close to 36 months, you have concerns, get them evaluated, get them into early intervention. And if those classes are full, usually they take early intervention kiddos first. And unlike other preschools, your little one does not need to be potty trained. So just some good FYI tips there. So what happens when you call? You are going to be asked just basic information. And I'm going to show you an example here in a minute. You will share your concerns that you have for your little one. No diagnosis is needed to call. And again, I'm going to reiterate this time and time again, you as a parent can call to early intervention, especially if a pediatrician, if you've brought it up to a pediatrician and they're like, let's wait it out and see, but your mama gut is still telling you like something needs to be done, well, then call and don't feel guilty about calling. I always tell parents, like, if we come in and do the evaluation and your child does not qualify, it's okay. We go on our way. And if they do qualify, we get the help that they need. And, whichever it is, you have peace of mind knowing that you got the evaluation completed. So here's an example form. This is for Illinois. I'm based in Illinois. So everything I talk about when it comes to EI is based on my experience with early intervention in Illinois. But a lot of times there is the same crossover. And it's pretty much broad versus based on the different districts. But again, they're going to ask child's name, date of birth. You guys can go ahead and read through this. They're going to assess suspected developmental delay based on objective screening. So I guess whatever, if you're calling in and maybe you have a speech concern, you can let them know that and they'll check the speech box. And then again, if you are calling in and your little one, you have concerns with speech. So they'll get that speech evaluation scheduled, which we will talk about intake next week. And then evaluations after the day after that. But if you have concerns with speech, you're going to have a speech therapist come out, but you're also going to have a developmental therapist come out. So all of those other sections here that you can see, like the motor, the social emotional, the cognitive, the speech, all of that, even the adaptive self-help, those are parts of my testing that I evaluate your child on. So looking at them globally. So I will also do receptive and expressive language, which I'm getting ahead of myself because we're not talking about this for a couple of days. But the speech therapist will also do that. So she'll give her report, and then I'll give my report on the 5 different areas. And then here's just a very simple prompt. If you want to call early intervention, I would just say something like, "Hi, I'm calling because I have some concerns about my child's development, and I'd like to know how to start the early intervention process." So as simple as that, and they will take down your information, and then they will get it to the right person, which we'll talk about, I believe, tomorrow. Actually, we're talking about it today. So what happens after the referral? So again, remember that this information is based on my experience as both a service coordinator and developmental therapist in Illinois. Um, Things may vary a little bit depending on your state. So once the referral comes in, the intake is processed and handed off to a service coordinator in your area based on county. So I service several different counties as a developmental therapist. So there's a little bit of drive time there in my area, same as a service coordinator. Each coordinator was defined to just a specific, I would say like 3 to 4 different counties. And then once that service coordinator has the intake and all the information in hand, they thoroughly read through it. They will call you and they will schedule an intake meeting. This meeting, I tell parents, usually takes about an hour. We're getting a lot of information from you. Usually, I would say before COVID, everything was in person, everything. Even if we had to stop by to do like an ad service meeting that was 5 minutes, still in person. But since COVID, we have gotten back to in person, but sometimes it's also done over the phone now. And then if you guys have any questions, remember, just put those in the chat box and I will get to them. Even if you're watching the pre-recording, I'll make sure I monitor those. And then, so we do have a timeline in early intervention, and it may actually vary by state. I'm not well versed on all early intervention programs in different states, but for Illinois, we have 45 days from the time that the referral comes in to have 2 things completed, and that is the intake and the evaluations. So we move rather quickly. Very rarely would I ever get close to that 45th day. The only reason I would ever do that, and I know service coordinators do not, they actually frown upon extending that 45-day timeline. I mean, that is a lot of time from the time the referral comes in, but there are some times that families move. We can't get a hold of families, especially if maybe it comes from, a pediatrician's office. So sometimes there's a lot of phone tag, back and forth, but for the most part, it's usually completed, I would say, within a couple of weeks. Again, it depends on the area that you're in, but we try to shoot for at least a couple weeks to get that intake and evaluation completed. So the intake and evaluations, like I said, happen pretty quickly. It's actually the ongoing services that a lot of families are currently waiting for, which is actually a sad scenario, especially when these kiddos need these services. But there is a significant wait list even in our area for certain therapies. So that's kind of why I am so passionate about Milestone Moms, so I can be here for you, answering your questions, teaching the things to help maybe fill in some of those gaps. Okay. Quiz time. Okay. Which of these people can refer a child to early intervention? Is it a pediatrician, a parent, a daycare provider, or all of the above? Yep. If you answer D, then you are right. All of those can refer to early intervention, along with the other ones that we had also discussed previously in this video. So what happens after the referral process? Do you remember what we had talked about? it kind of goes along with, the order of how we're doing this. So first you have the referral, and then you have the intake with the service coordinator that gets handed off to them, and then the evaluations are scheduled. Then we'll talk about qualifications and then that transition. So let's see, a child must already have a diagnosis to qualify for early intervention. Go ahead and put in the comment section what you think. And if you guessed that they do not have to have a diagnosis, you are right. A child does not need to have a diagnosis to qualify for early intervention. And then what is the goal of early intervention? Is it to wait to see if a child outgrows it? Is it to punish the parents? Is it to provide support early when concerns arise, or is it diagnosing every child? Yes, if you guessed C, then you are right. Remember, we talked about that brain development in the first 3 years. That's why early intervention is so crucial. And actually, I have seen a handful of kids in my time in early intervention go through early intervention and actually not qualify for school-based services when they get to that early childhood phase, which I think is fantastic. And then you need a doctor referral before contacting early intervention. True or false? If you answered false, you are right. You do not need a doctor's referral. A parent can refer. And then what age does a child need to be considered for the early intervention program? If you guessed birth to 36 months, you are right. Anything, like I said, your child would age out the day before their third birthday. So good job. So again, if you have any questions, go ahead and put those in the comment section below. If you have a topic that you want me to cover, do the same. And then if you want to connect with me in any way, make sure you are looking at the description below. I have different links to my free and paid resources. I do have a quiz that a lot of moms like taking. It's called the Milestone Mom Style Quiz. So go ahead and check that out as well. Okay, let me go ahead. Let's get to some questions here. Let me go ahead. Let me put myself back in view here. Okay, hold on here. Let's see here. Okay, so my child went through early intervention and I wish I would have called sooner. Is that common? And honestly, yes, I hear that all of the time from families. And I think a lot of parents spend months wondering a few different things. Like they wonder, am I overreacting? Should I wait? Or in the back of their mind, they're thinking, well, maybe I should wait because then they'll just catch up. And sorry, dads, but I do have to pick on you for a minute. Sometimes it's actually the dads that aren't on board with the referral or even the ongoing services. So that puts a delay in the mom calling as well, or even the pediatrician. I've been in plenty of homes where we definitely felt a little unwelcomed by a father. In one instance, the child did actually qualify for early intervention, and the dad declined services even though the mom was pushing for them. So you can imagine what it was like to be in that house during that conversation. The dad had actually agreed to the evaluation, but I think that was about as far as he was going to go with it. And again, there are a lot of parents that don't think they can call early intervention, which puts a delay on it. And I will give you an example of this. So I went in to evaluate the sweetest 30-month-old little boy. And remember, early intervention goes to 36 months. And by the time we got to him, he was only saying 3 words at 30 months. And the mom said that she had mentioned it to her pediatrician a while back, probably at the last well check, which was probably 24 months. And the pediatrician had mentioned, just to, kind of wait and see. We hear that often. Eventually, the pediatrician did make the referral. but I hated getting in there and telling the mom that she could have actually called months ago. And, sometimes that ASQ that you guys fill out at the pediatrician's office, I love how they're being proactive about it because sometimes it will catch those delays, and sometimes not. So that ages and stages questionnaire that I'm talking about, it can be really confusing for parents, which is kind of what I already talked about. We've actually had referrals to early intervention for kiddos that might be on the spectrum based on how the parent filled out that form, or that ASQ, only to get to the family's home and conduct the evaluation and find out that they only have like a speech delay or no delay at all. So go ahead and comment yes in the comment section below if you do want me to do a full training on ASQ and how to fill those out. Hold on one second. Let's see here. What else do we have? Okay, so I feel guilty for even thinking my child might need early intervention. Do other parents feel that way too? Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes. I think guilt is actually one of the biggest emotions parents carry into this process. But needing support is not a parenting failure. And I want you to remember that. Children actually develop differently for so many different reasons. Think about if your little one was premature. I mean, up until 24 months, we still adjust for age. And early intervention actually exists because early childhood development can be incredibly variable. That's why I'm here to teach you all about milestones. I want you to be able to look at your child and say, okay, they just went through this. They went through these milestones. This is what's happening now, and this is what's going to be happening in the near future. Getting help early is actually one of the most proactive and loving things a parent can do. So I do want you to keep that in mind. Let's see. Okay, let's keep going. Let's do one more question. Someone asked, what was the biggest thing you learned working inside early intervention? Oh, I love this question. Thank you for asking. Honestly, that development is not a one size fits all. I've worked with so many incredible children and families over the years, and one thing I learned quickly is that early support can make such a meaningful difference, not just for the child, but for the parents as well. And sometimes parents, honestly, they really just need clarity, reassurance, different strategies. They need to know what they're looking at as far as milestones go, and someone there to guide them. And I think families deserve that information without fear, and they need that support without feeling any kind of shame. So that really is why I'm doing this series and why I created Milestone Mom. So again, I know we're going live. It's a lot different than sitting in your living room, but I'm trying to get out of my own way so I can serve you. So please put in the comments any teaching things that you want me to do, any comments or any questions. And before we go, don't forget to look in that description below and snag a freebie. It will get you into my email list and into our tribe, so you won't miss anything that's going on here at Milestone Mom. So, all right, I will see you tomorrow at 12:30 Central Time, and we will go over, let's see what we're going over. Hold on one second here. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out our, all the technical stuff back here. So tomorrow we're going to talk about what happens at the intake. All right, guys, I will see you tomorrow. All right, bye.